say a special good morning to those of you listening to Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9. Those of you viewing GBN TV, whether it's Channel 7, Channel 11, Channel 20. Good morning. Viewers and listeners via social media platforms. Good morning to you also. Those of you via GBN's webpage, good morning. Welcome. It's to the point. It's Thursday, the 10th day of October, 2024. And with us this morning, we have, of course, representing the Community Relations Department of the RGPF. Of course, I'm going to let them introduce themselves this morning for a bit of a change, so I don't get the names wrong as I usually do. So, as I say, ladies first, right?
Yeah.
Ladies first. Good morning to you, officer. Go right ahead. Let's say good morning to you. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning to you, GT. I am WPC One Roberts from the Community Relations Department.
All right, welcome.
It's a pleasure being here this morning.
You're most welcome as always. Most welcome.
And good morning to you, GT. Good morning to GBN, those listening and those viewing at home and in the diaspora. Sergeant Sherwin Noel, and I'm a regular person in the studio.
Yes, you've been a regular.
It's a pleasure to be here and to once again be able to share some information with you and hear from you, your concerns and the way you think that we can assist you going forward.
All right, Sergeant Sherwin Noel. I thought that was a bad one. You almost forgot your name too, right? Anyway, good morning. So the general representative, folks, officers are representing the Community Relations Department this morning. Our focus of the conversation this morning will be on violence. Violence in general. It's a concern for all individuals on this beautiful island of ours, including our sister island of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, when it turns to violence. No one likes to hear about violence. No one's want to be part of violence. I'm assuming the individual just may not like that at all. I know some folks, who wouldn't like to be around if they notice something of a violent nature wants to take place. So let's talk about violence in Grenada as whole. Let's kick it off in terms of the concerns, more or less, from the Community Relations Department. Lately, we've been hearing about the upsurge of certain types of violent nature on island. Let's start off with the concerns first. I'm going to let Sergeant Noel, of course, take a lead with that this morning in terms of violence in general and some of the concerns you have as we go through the conversation this morning.
And may I start with just giving a basic definition of what is violence? Mm-hmm. And when we say violence, we speak of behaviors involving the use of physical force with the intent to hurt or damage, or even to kill someone or something. And by saying that, you would get the general idea what we're speaking about.
All right.
GT, in recent times, it became, a real challenge for us as police officers, law enforcement. And we are sitting in a position where we do not only think about, arresting individuals, but we also think about the effects that it would have on our population, our communities, our families, and so on. Even the state, in terms of providing resources, to treat persons and to, look after those who are incarcerated. And so, we recognize that through regular policing, just going out there and making arrests and, putting persons in custody and going to court and giving evidence, we will not be able to create the sort of impact that we really want to create in order to reduce violence. So we have seen from where we sit that a lot more can be done. And so, our department came up with an initiative, and we name it a campaign against violence. And through that initiative, we intend to, educate, we intend to inform, we intend to listen, and to do as much as we can in relation to sharing information that can reduce violence and reduce the impact of violence, remove the fear from our persons in our communities, and so to improve the way our citizens resolve conflict.
All right.
And so we intend to share, a lot about how we intend to go about doing that with you and with your listeners this morning.
All right. As you mentioned it, let's get into that particular campaign that you decide to start off there. Of course, that campaign against violence, and I understand the reason why it will trigger the Community Relations Department want to start a campaign of that nature. Give us some details as relates to the campaign.
Okay, so GT, this is a campaign where we target some individual communities, and as I said before, we have seen our statistics, informed us that there is a need to act and to act now. We'll share information about the statistics a little later, but for the earlier part of this year, we have seen an increase in gun-related incidents. We have also seen an increase in the amount of confrontations and conflicts between police officers, or we say law enforcement generally, and members of various communities, including the bus community, and including different communities. Yes, we have seen brawls in Grenada and other places. This spurred the action of the community relations department, and in thinking, we decided, listen, what is really causing this behavior? Is it because our presence has not been felt, or is it because our people are not very well informed, or what really? And so through discussions, we have decided that okay, we would visit the blocks. And when we say blocks, we mean like the active
where
or the
they actually hang out
in different areas. Yes,
right.
And where we can meet persons who are directly involved or impacted by violence. We also decided that we are going to visit the schools and have that conversation on conflict resolution and de-escalation and so on. We also decided that we would use mediums like these, like the radio and television, to share information and to bring awareness and so on. And we started sometime just at the end of August, the beginning of September, by visiting a number of communities, in various areas. We're speaking about, like on the Carnage, we speak about Four Roads, Snow Corner, Willis, and Grenville.
What has been the feedback thus far with these visits by the RGPF, especially the Community Relations Department, visiting these particular areas that you mentioned, so-called target areas? What has been the feedback in terms of the discussion you have with the individual that supposedly maybe be involved in those who have those violent natures? And what has the feedback been thus like? Was it a positive feedback? Was they, susceptible to the information that was thrown out to them? Do you find with this a form of resistance, in terms of wanting to talk? There's always an issue of not wanting to talk to the police, especially when issues of that nature, except when individuals run into a problem and they have to talk to the police. But when they come into having a general conversation, folks always have that bit of resistance of approaching and getting into a conversation with the police. How has the feedback been? Of course, in these conversations you've been having.
Okay, so GT, to me, I was surprised by the great feedback that we got. In those communities, I recognize also that it's not only about who's visiting, but how you approach and how you intend to interact with the individuals. It's amazing to know that these people, who are directly impacted or involved, they have a different side, and going on the block, meeting them, we recognize that they need a voice as well. They need an ear to listen, someone to listen to their concerns. They have concerns as well. And so it was an opportunity that, we use. We go out, and I can't say that we didn't get resistance. We got some resistance, but it was very minute in terms of, the warm welcome that we got from most of the persons in the areas. And we learned a lot. We learned that a lot of persons been clamoring for opportunities to get jobs and so on. They've been speaking about raising concerns about the way they have been treated by police officers, and so there's a lot that we can take into consideration in terms of seeing what we can do, providing that sort of referral, or maybe at times making adjustments within our own system as to how we go about dealing with situations and treating with with problems and getting better response. They say, like, if you try the same thing all the time and expect a different results, then you're crazy.
It's obviously
so,
wouldn't happen.
It wouldn't happen. So we need to we from there we learn, and we will go back to our drawing board. We have also made recommendations for internal training and you know, training in terms of use of force and de-escalation, you know, tactics and conflict resolution and so on. So it's a lot that we're learning. We are hoping at the end of the day that it would help, you know, to reduce violence, because we know that GT sometimes a lot happens by the first impression, the first impact. You know, a police officer might go out, you know, someone may have as well committed a crime, and the police officer, the way the police approach might spur a different, you know, sort of reaction or action. And so we are looking at these situations, this sort of, you know, informative, you know, information that we have, so we can tweak and better assist the public, and, you know, be more courteous, provide a more professional service, and hope that we would get better results. Again, education, we say, GT, sometimes is always the key to breaking those chains, those gaps. A lot of the individuals, we recognize that, you know, they believe that they're sidelined, they are left in, they're born in this community, and from the day they were born, it's like people, you know, set them aside. So a man might tell you, listen, I was born in Belmont, and from the day I went to school, people say they don't make a joke with Belmont children, and you know, when they go to get a job,
they would tell you, life for them to a point. They
would tell you that people treat them differently. So we want to, you know, change that from the police side, and we hope that the nation would look at it and say, okay, listen, let's not contribute further towards those persons remaining isolated and believing that they should always continue to be a part of this negative world, but let's create, you know, an environment where everyone can thrive equally.
You know, it kind of triggers a thought to me that, you know, I'm sensing that you're picking up from these conversations that the police is involved to some point.
Yes.
You understand? But it's not always the police are the one that are triggering the violence, if I may say so. I mean, there had to be a root cause why these individuals among themselves, because I'm assuming that's where the violence starts, right? Among individuals themselves. From these conversations you've been having with those individuals, was there any information that was dispersed to you all that would say that the root cause of why these individuals are getting themselves involved in these violent tendencies that they were getting involved in? The root cause, per se?
Well, GT, I could remember clearly a young man from Trenchtown was saying to me that, you know, officer, you know, I'm not involved in violence in any way, but look, I have a big scar on my forehead and my back. Someone just meet me and chop me because I'm liming on the block. And you know, sometimes when we look at it, we see sometimes people target you by virtue of your association, who you associate with.
So true.
Sometimes it might be, you know, ignorance, just not having any other idea how to resolve the conflict. You know, they're not accustomed to having a conversation. You know, they can't hold a good conversation, so they resort to violence. They're not being able to express themselves otherwise, other than through violence. And so, you know, we are calling on Corporate Grenada. We're calling on, you know, everybody to play a part, you know, come on board with us in this campaign against violence. We know that the government and the different ministries and other individuals have been doing, you know, but we are saying that because we have a slight decrease doesn't mean that we have to stop, but we want it to be a continued effort. If we want to suppress, we can't allow, you know, it's just like grass.
Yeah.
You have to keep cutting, you have to keep weeding, and so we want to keep, you know,
things would just sprung up on their own at times. These issues would just sprung up. All right, officer, of course, WPC Roberts. I want to ask you a wee bit. You know, in a Grenada terrain, we could say, if I could say it that way, in a Grenada, of course, as we live here, what are some of the types of violence that we see that are most prevalent on island here?
Right, so we have like the physical types. That's why you use like the physical force to cause injury or harm to person. So these things include like hitting, or coughing somebody, or punching somebody, or even use of weapons, also to inflict wounds on persons.
Right.
Then we have like the emotional or psychological violence. This is like where person may do activities or say things to damage someone's mental well-being.
Right.
So that's things like intimidation, the verbal abuse, the threats, and so on. Then we have the economic violence, which involves like controlling person finances or so. And then we have the sexual violence. So this is where like persons may get involved in sexual activities with someone without their consent. So that's things like rape and sexual assaults, and so on.
What are the most trending ones in Grenada, if I may ask? What are the most trending types of violence, I would say? You did, of course, mention a few of them, but what is one that you seem to be a particular trend that is more dominant than the other in Grenada?
Well, based on the statistics here in Grenada, I would say the physical violence, because we have many reports, even like the gun violence now lately, where persons shooting, or what the case may be, persons chopping persons, even like in the domestic settings and things, as it relates to intimate relationships, we're getting lots of reports in that capacity of persons harming persons.
All right.
Yeah. So physical, definitely.
All right. We drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we still have loads more to, of course, talk about in this particular conversation this morning. Stay with us. So our listeners and viewers, you also will have the opportunity to chime in terms of question or two to the officers. When we come back, stay with us, folks. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV.
Tourism is me. Tourism is you. Tourism is everybody, and tourism connects us all.
Did you know that tourism generates revenue and foreign exchange earnings?
Did you know it stimulates infrastructural development and facilitate cultural exchange among people?
You must know tourism is linked to all industries,
from agriculture to construction.
So support the industry today and be welcoming to all our visitors.
Tourism is my business. Tourism is your business. Tourism is our business. Listen, one and all. Tourism connects us all.
A message from the Ministry of Tourism
and the Grenada Tourism Authority.
This song is dedicated to all heroes and patriots who fall.
A nation rises one more time to remember and honor our martyrs and our heroes. This proud nation, nurtured by their blood and sweat, comes together for another Heroes Day on Saturday, October 19th, with a special ceremony at Progress Park from 9:30 a.m. Citations and prayers, as well as cultural presentations and speeches by many, including 2 Prime Ministers. Our Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez. Cultural presentations by the National Folk Group, Vinway, Wizard, Scholar, Nicole Newton Fletcher, and more. It's going to be both solemn and commemorative, and we will come together and call our heroes by their names on Heroes Day, Saturday, October 19th at Progress Park, starting at 9:30 a.m.
Hello, everybody. My name is Renee Goodwin, and I am the marketing manager here at...
Once again, welcome back to our listeners, welcome back to our viewers. It's Classic Radio, GBN TV, and with us this morning from the Community Relations Department this morning, we have, of course, Sergeant Noel with us and WPC Roberts. And we're talking violence this morning here on the program, violence in general. I want to ask the next question. In terms of the statistics that is out there, in terms of the various violence that we've seen ranging 2022, 2023 thus far, we, of course, just in almost to the latter part of 2024. Give us some of these statistics out there as in relation to violence that we've been seeing, that the RGPF Community Relations Department been seeing in Grenada thus far in terms of the statistics.
Right. So the statistics I'm going to share is from the period, is a comparison between January to May of 2023 and January to May of 2024 to show like the increase of the violent crimes we had here in Grenada. So for possession of firearm in 2023, we had 25. For this year, 32.
Okay.
Possession of ammunition, 16 in 2023 and 38 in 2024. Murder, we had 8 in 2023, 7 in 2024. Attempted murder, we had 7 and it moved to 9.
Okay.
Causing harm, 638 to 690. Grievous harm, 32 to 35.
Right.
Rape, it cannot remain stagnant with 20 being for both years. Sexual assault, it was 8 in 2023 and it moved to 2024 as 12.
Okay.
Robbery with violence, you had 31 in 2023 and 34 for 2024. Robbery, we had 1 in 2023 and 10 for 2024.
All right. So we see the statistics, of course, in between the type of offences. We see some has remained stagnant, and we see a percentage of increase in some for 2020. If you wave in, depending on the violent tendency that we're looking at the statistic at, in 2023 to 2024, we see a surge in terms of the percentage. Is that a concern? Is that a really serious concern in terms of some of the percentage in the types of violent tendency that we're seeing there? What's the concern for that?
Yes, GT, it's a major concern for us, especially as law enforcement. We do understand that over the years, the difference in the occurrences in crime, fluctuates. However, for some reason, we would not treat with that situation lightly. Mm-hmm. We believe that a lot more can be done, and so we are, on a surge to ramp up on the way we go about, policing. We do not want to remain very reactive to a situation, but we want to be a lot more proactive. And so we are encouraging all departments and divisions to go out in the communities and engage and educate, because we see that is where the violence actually stems from, the different communities. Mm-hmm. And early involvement or maybe early engagement by law enforcement can definitely lead to a reduction in crime. If you're speaking about, take for instance, we're speaking here about violence, and if you go in the schools and you teach the children a lot about conflict resolution, if you go in the communities and you have engagement with family members, mothers and fathers, if you go to the PTA and you share information as to how to resolve conflict, signs to look for, and so on, what causes violence and so on, then they would be in a better place to look and to observe and to take early action. Because a lot of times too, GT, we say that things happen, mm-hmm. but if as a parent, as a father or mother, you observe, you will see a different behavioral pattern in your child, or you might see a different behavioral pattern in your son or your daughter, or even the wife might see a different conduct in the male, or he might see something, so that you can take early action, get help, and let's help to. We are urging again, if you see something that doesn't look right, report it to the police. You don't
feel right too.
Yeah,
It's only the look, so the feel sometimes plays a important part in it.
Even if you don't feel comfortable reporting it to police, but speak to somebody you think that can help.
Yeah.
Social services, a teacher, it might be a counselor, it might be the pastor or the priest in your community. Speak to them, and so that they can, direct you, or they can give you some good advice. It happens a lot too, GT, with the people who commit suicide. Sometimes they have problems and they don't share.
They show signs that they need assistance, but sometimes we look at it differently, and we see what happens. So one of the statistics I want to get a little feedback, and that shows a little bit of concern to me, is the cause and harm. We see we've been looking at the comparison, we're not even at the end of 2024 yet, and I'm looking at the increase in terms of, for 2023 we had 638. We have not even gotten to the end of 2024 yet, and we're going up to 690. Cause and harm, which means individual inflicting harm on one another, seem to be on a rise for some reason or the other. What's some of the major concerns with that as it relates to that?
GT, cause and harm can be committed, quite easily. You cause somebody to feel pain. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be a chop wound or something. Mm-hmm. But you hit somebody, or you pinch them, you slap them. You didn't get permission. It's unlawful. Mm-hmm. And so yes, it's an offense that's quite easy to commit. Yeah. But what we recognize is that the respect for individual and their rights, has been violated so often, that we have quite a number of, these offenses being reported. We think that, if we respect each other more, if we can have a conversation rather than just slapping or maybe, coughing or pinching or kicking or so, then we can have a definite reduction in those offenses, as simple as it is to be committed. But we see it as the causing harm, the root or the stepping stone to the bigger offenses, like grievous harm and wounding and maiming and so on. And so we believe that again, ignorance of the law is not an excuse, but and so a lot of persons who are first-time offenders, they may not recognize that if they slap somebody, then they can be arrested and charged. But we are here and we are letting you know that it's an offense. So don't take it for granted that you can end up in the police station or the cell tonight because you slap your girlfriend. And it's not okay to slap me. It's not okay to hit. You should have a conversation. If you can't take what is happening, then go to the station yourself and make a complaint, but don't take the law into your own hands.
If I could interject here, let's just a concern that comes to me in terms of the cause and harm and some of the harms I'm seeing here in terms of the violence, some of the offenses. Sorry, what kind of age demographic are we looking at in individuals who are committing those violence? Is it folks between a certain age range, or tell us a wee bit about that?
Go ahead.
So mostly these offenses are committed mostly by the youth. So persons from as young as 15 to let's say around 40. So most of it is youths involved.
All right. That's for concern there. And folks, we're moving on to 28 minutes after the hour this morning here on the program. We're talking violence. I want to talk a wee bit about the cause of violence. That is something that will draw a lot of individuals' attention, the cause of the violence that we see happening. You did give an indication of the offenses that have been committed, but there's always something that will trigger individuals wanting to, commit those particular acts for whatever. What are some of the causes of those violence that we've seen out there?
All right, so one of the causes could be somebody who is dealing with drugs and alcohol abuse. So usually when you're under the influence of alcohol, you're not in your right mind, so you may do things that cause you to act in a particular way, make you aggressive and commit some form of act where you can be arrested or so. Then we have peer pressure, like persons following persons and getting themselves involved. Sometimes you might have a situation you're not involved, but because your friend is involved,
or gang related to a point,
you get involved.
Yes.
Right? We have a lack of parental supervision. I remember growing up as a child, simple thing as passing and saying howdy to the neighbor. The moment time you refuse to, if you fail to do that, you're getting flogged. But what we're seeing now is that children are committing acts and so on. The parents are supporting these kind of behaviors, or what the case. They don't want anybody correct them children, or what the case may be. And the children are going astray, basically.
All right.
Yeah. Then we have mental health issues. I think everybody knows what is mental health. They're not in the right frame of mind.
Understandably for that one.
Persons witnessing violence in the home or community, or even on media. The media has a big part to play. What you may watch, you want to do. Especially the games now. There is a lot of violent games. And the children playing these games, parents not bothering. It may look like simple things, but what they see, they will want to act eventually.
Yeah, but we act out at time to time, yes.
Then we have access to weapons. If you have access to a weapon, most likely you'll want to use it when the situation arises. We have loss of trust in people. You don't trust the system. You don't trust to report matters. Certain things happen, you're refusing to report because you don't trust the police. And then you take action against the person who may harm you or cause issues to you, or the case may be. Then we have being a victim of frustration. You're frustrated, somebody may say something to you, then you act out.
All right.
GT, I just want to add that we see a lot of this, being manifested, especially when we speak about the peer pressure. We see it a lot in schools. Yeah, we see it a lot in schools. When, one student would get involved in or would be in a confrontation with another, and then you would have other students who are not even concerned with what is taking place. joining in because their friend is involved. And a lot of times it's not that they don't come from good parental back, or a good home. It's because, they feel compelled.
Yeah, I gotta support my buddy or support my friend.
If I don't take part, then, we wouldn't be friends anymore. That she wouldn't talk to me or he wouldn't speak with me.
Right.
I might just be, on the other side as well. We want to urge students, to stand up for what is right. Generally stand up for what is right.
Try to de-escalate these situations if it's possible.
And if you know your friend is wrong, let him know that he's wrong. Or else, what I always stress on is not just the what is up front. At first, yes, you would look like a thug, you would look like, a bad boy in front of your peers. But at the end of the day, when the matter is reported and the police comes, you would be the one in custody, you would be the one going before the magistrate, you may be the one having to go to compulsory counseling or so.
Even if you didn't initiate the confrontation.
Exactly, because you did in fact commit the offense, or you were part of of the group that committed the offense. So you may even end up incarcerated in custody, or you might end up having to pay a fine.
I could go so far as death.
And
so true.
And that is what we are very concerned about, is the effects of the violence. When you commit the violence, sometimes you're not thinking or you're not in the right frame, but after you're incarcerated, you become so sober that you start thinking,
what have I really done? I understand. That. So
as you mentioned that this remind me of a situation that happened where they committed some offenses. They were intoxicated at the time. However, the police responded, the person was brought into custody. When they sobered up, they were like, what I'm doing here? Oh, I end up here.
I understand that. Well, we have a caller who has been calling for we. I guess he wants to probably interject on the conversation. I'll give him the opportunity, although it wasn't ready time to open the lines as yet. But so they give the caller the option to of course, make his point. Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Oh, yes, good morning to GT. How are you?
Too bad. Go right ahead, please.
But you said you after your break you would open up the call. That's why I called. Well, then that I would wait.
Not really. I didn't mention it. I said the opportunity will be provided, but not as yet. But if you go right ahead, please make your contribution.
Okay, I'll tell you something. I want to compliment the officers. Good morning to you all. I want to compliment the officers for the angle which you're taking. I've been listening very carefully, and the angle which I think the officer is mentioning, it is the right angle, because if you go arresting those who commit the many crimes, eventually will not have police, and it affect the society, affect the homes, etc. So that is the right angle, of handling the matter. But an observation I made over the years, GT, many years ago, that I communicated to all and sundry the social services, that we have we're growing a restless society and an anger society, and I pointed out many times. And what I concluded in my analysis over the years is that we are losing the ability to think. We are losing the ability to comprehend. We don't analyze. And it is a concern for me, because it only says that we're losing our mind gradually. And that's the reason why you see we have in this mountain crime, nearly at all levels. And that it worries me a lot to know that the people who should help us solve the problem are part of the problem. And when I say we're losing mental capacity, some people don't understand where I'm coming from, and I'm asking them to empathize with me, because I go very deep sometimes. So what I'm coming up with, they cannot see it until many years. Because people have been criticizing me and they are agreeing with me now that were you seeing those things? Because I go very deep. I take society very serious, and I take people's life very, very seriously. As an executive in the private sector, my job, I took it very seriously. And so I don't take life as something just so you have a life and you could do anything that you want. No, my thing is we should grow the kind of society where we live harmoniously. And we have lost and continue to lose the ability to fix society. And that's why I say we are losing mental capacity. which is we're losing our mind slowly but gradually, and I am worried about it. Officer, you have a big thing on your hand. Your angle of solving the problem is the right angle. Be humble, be peaceful, solve it diplomatically. You have to have wisdom. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Appreciate your contribution this morning. And that caller did make a whole lot of sense in terms of what he was saying in terms of the root cause of violence. Folks are just losing their sanity in terms of what they're doing, so a whole lot. We drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, I want us to talk a wee bit about the effects of violence. Because, when violent activities take place, there's that particular effect that it causes on individuals, families, society as a whole. And we want to talk about a wee bit about that when we return. Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back. Don't touch it out.
Hello, everybody. My name is Renee Goodwin, and I am the marketing manager here at True Blue Bay Resort. And I am so excited to invite you all to join us every Thursday on GBN, starting from November 7th, as we count down to the holiday season, right here at True Blue Bay Resort, Grenada's best family-friendly resort for visitors and locals.
Tourism is me, tourism is you, tourism is everybody, and tourism connects us all.
Did you know that tourism generates revenue and foreign exchange earnings?
Did you know it stimulates infrastructural development and facilitates cultural exchange among people?
You must know tourism is linked to all industries,
from agriculture to construction.
So support the industry today and be welcoming to all our visitors.
Tourism is my business. Tourism is your business. Tourism is our business. Listen, one and all. Tourism connects us all.
A message from the Ministry of Tourism
and the Grenada Tourism Authority.
This song is dedicated to all heroes and patriots who fall.
A nation rises one more time to remember and honor our martyrs and our heroes.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, once again to The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. The Community Relations Department with us this morning here on the program. We're talking violence in general. And officers, welcome back once again. And before the break, I did mention I want us to talk about the effects of violence, especially on the community, families, and so forth. Individuals who the violence was committed against. There's always that particular effect. Let's talk a wee bit about that. Who wants to go take the lead on that? The effects of violence.
Alright, so individually we're looking at things like injury, like persons may sustain permanent injuries and so forth. We have imprisonment for perpetrators, even death, both maybe the victim or also.
Okay.
Right. As it relates to one of the lasting effects of violence is depression, especially when it comes to the psychological abuse.
Especially the type of violence committed against you.
Yes.
All right.
Then we have like a cycle of violence. So when you start acting, you usually tend to continue. Right? So one is just like a step in most cases. Then we have like pathological lying. Person continue to lie for no reason.
Is that violence?
Yes, because emotionally, especially on victims. Yeah.
All right. I never thought of it as a being violent per se. As you know, someone could be a pathological liar, but then you're thinking it in the context of being the effects of lying.
Yes.
So I mean, that's definitely violence. Okay. All right.
Right. You have persons who develop sleeping and eating disorders, so they cannot sleep, they cannot eat because of the abuse they're faced with on a daily basis. Also, then we have stigma, persons being bullied, also because of, especially in gangs and so on in the school settings. Yeah. And then we have like financial costs and as it relates to treatment for victims and persons like in prison the government have to support those persons. So it's a financial burden on the government or on the state, or the case may be.
All right. That's basically some of the effects that folks go by in terms of violence. Now, there's always the order of prevention. Prevention is always a key component in this. How can we as a society, how can individuals themselves, how to prevent violence committed against you as an individual, maybe having the thought of wanting to commit a violent act against someone? You understand? How could that be prevented?
GT, well, let me go according to the book. First, I want individuals to think about the consequences of their action. If you think about the consequence of, chopping someone, that should be a deterrent. That that should be one of the reasons to help you, or to prevent you from wanting to commit that sort of act. Secondly, you can look to recognize situations, recognize a dangerous situation, recognize when something is about to escalate, and avoid, the situation. For instance, you know that there is something, brewing, between two areas, and an event is coming up, and you recognize that the police may not be aware of it, and it's fresh, so stay away, especially if you know that you're a targeted person in relation to that. Yes, seek counseling, or address, the violent behavior. So you might be a violent person, GT.
I'm not.
You may become. And you have the tendency to do violent stuff, to become so violent. But you're not seeking any help or any remedy for your situation. So seek counseling and try to get yourself sorted out. Again, use verbal communication to address issues rather than physical stuff, physical violence or aggression. Learn to chat, learn to be open. Sometimes we have those persons that we say are introverted, and so sometimes they don't really like to talk a lot, or they don't mingle, but there comes a time when you have to speak up. Report matters to the police. Report matters to the police rather than taking it into your own hands. That could be another way. Show respect and be compassionate. It's like we're speaking here, for instance, like GT in the schools, the bullying and so on. Somebody might come to school and their hand might be broken or deformed or something, but instead you want to beat them up. Show respect and be compassionate. I've seen GT situations turn from good within the space of seconds to where somebody become a disabled person. So you yourself can end up in a situation or even worse. So you have to be compassionate, you have to show respect. The ACTS community members should help each other, right, by creating and joining constructively, to criticize violence in the community. So in our communities, before, we used to say the community raising the child. The community should be involved in preventing violence. You see something happening, and in some communities, persons might glorify violence and say, well, we bad up here, we have all the guns and gunshot busting every night. But instead, speak out about it. Or report it to the police.
Or even organizing like clubs or groups to kind of steer persons away from the violence, especially now we have like this huge unemployment. Most youths now they're unemployed. So if you could organize groups to kind of steer persons there to keep them occupied, that will also help in that regards.
In the society that we live in today, lots of folks will make this statement that time has changed. And you made the statement about the community raising the child and the community being involved. But in the intermingling of communities these days, where individuals from different communities joining into another, being part of other communities now, bringing their tendencies that they may have had from their community into yours. And now individuals in these communities may not want to get involved for some reason or the other. And I have seen it now where there are individuals in the community who have been probably growing up in that community, just don't want to get involved anymore. And they see the violence that are taking place, and they, for some reason or the other, they refuse to even report it or even speak about it to the police or even other members of the community. I mean, how much of a concern is that for especially with the community relation and the RGPF as a whole? Because I've known you have gotten reports or know about incidents of that nature where the community in general, for whatever reasons, know of these individuals in the community who commits these violence tendencies and so forth, but just for some reason refuses totally to get involved. How do you feel about that? How concerning is that for the RGPF?
GT, as I said, these situations are, grave concern for us. We understand that from time to time, different members of communities, they may have lost trust in the police for various reasons. And so we understand that is our duty as well to rebuild and to reconnect, with those persons. It's a process, but it can happen gradually. We want to reassure the public that they can always rely on the police, and it's the best way of resolving conflict, other than we don't want you to resort to violence and so, but we want to be aware, we want to be on top of every situation. But again, this situation that you may have had with the police, if it's something that is maybe the police didn't respond to a crime that you reported, and so or maybe the confidentiality wasn't there, we urge you that you shouldn't give up on the whole system because one individual failed you, or maybe a station or an officer didn't respond to your report. But we want to reassure you that you can always speak to somebody. If somebody in a station fail you, you can always maybe speak to the officer in charge. If you're not satisfied with the response, then you can always refer the matter to Community Relations Department,
or step up,
or you can find somebody that you're comfortable with to speak to about your situation. And I can assure you that something can be done and something will be done. But we are all about building and rebuilding bridges and gaps, and trying to get the community generally to take the place that they should take. Because if we do not claim our community, we will lose it to violence. If we remain silent about crime and about other issues, then the criminal will become comfortable. It would be a safe haven for them to want to commit, or it would encourage them to continue to commit crime. So we want to get our communities back in that groove where they feel that yes, it is our community, we belong to this community, and we wouldn't give it up for crime, we wouldn't give it up for violence, and we can report matters to the police, and we are sure that the police will respond, and we will get justice, and our situations will be dealt with.
Okay. In this segment, that's why we open up the lines to our listeners and viewers this morning, and we're going to go all the way till 10 a.m. It's 10 a.m. this morning. Let's take our first caller via WhatsApp. Let's hear your contribution this morning to our program. We're speaking a whole lot in reference to violence. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Yeah, good morning. I want to say I want to give a hats off to the police for doing a great job, for trying their best also to not forgetting that Grenada, Carriacou, Petit Martinique is a close-knit community and everyone knows everyone. I would like to ask the officers, how do they differentiate hearsay from facts?
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Respond to the caller?
Yes, GT, sometimes hearsay is by what someone tells you, yeah? Hearsay could be like you come to the police and you said, my girlfriend told me that John said, yeah? But
you were another third party talking.
Right, so you weren't there, yeah? Hearsay could it could be factual,
Yes.
but it is hearsay.
But the call is a breakdown version.
Right, so, but we have to prove that, it actually happened. So how can you do that? So if your girlfriend told you that she was there when John said that, we'll have to obtain a statement from your girlfriend. Right. In that case, it would be a direct situation where the person, who heard was present when it was said.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
We do have another caller. Caller, good morning, you're live. Let's go back. I was talking with my mic off, so my apology for that. There's a question from someone on the WhatsApp. They're saying, good morning. It relates on the gun issue in the South of St. George and not doing the job of doing their jobs. Guns are on the streets, information have been given, but there's no acting on it. Instead of of course, they are protecting the criminals. I hope you get the gist of the question that this individual is posting.
I want to understand that the individual is saying that they're providing information to the police and the police is not acting. I don't know if that's the case, but I'm of the belief that the police in the South, definitely if they have information of that, then they may be waiting on just the ideal opportunity rather than, just or maybe doing some sort of surveillance or something.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, sometimes you recognize that if you act now, you may not accomplish your said goal. So sometimes, you have information, but you're trying to get evidence.
Okay. Caller, good morning, you're live.
Hi, good morning to you, GT, and to your two young officers. I must say I am very impressed at these two young citizens. With the way they are representing the force and our society as a whole. I admire their approach to the whole issue of crime and especially violence, and it is a sort of sociological approach, apart from, and not that just that forceful approach to it. Now, I agree that we have a very angry society. There's a lot of anger in the society. A lot of it comes from the home, the type of homes we have, especially our young men. They come from neglected homes. They come from homes where there is abuse, and there is a lot of anger. And I think this is what is playing out in our streets. But there's another aspect of it, lack of respect. Lack of respect. Today, it doesn't take anything serious for somebody to tell you how your mother made you. And to me, that was something that you hardly ever heard. People use it as though it's just common language. It's just regular parlance. Your mother this and your mother that. As I've always said, anybody who says that to me would never, ever have a conversation with me again in my life. I would never speak to you because you've disrespected me. And if you disrespected somebody who means a lot to me, that in many cases you don't even know. And to me, this lack of respect is fueling the violence. You and somebody have a little incident, and the person starts telling you about your mother. You get angry, you're hurt, and somebody you feel that you must react. And to me, if we approach this lack of respect, we would reduce those flare-ups and those violent responses. I don't know how we're going to do that. Women are now cussing their children about the mother, who, in short, is their own selves they're cussing. And I do not know how we'll get out of that one. But that lack of respect, you see, friends are killing friends. All the time we've seen it happen. Lack of respect. Somebody has disrespect you so terribly in public that you feel pressured to respond in a forceful way. So the anger plus that lack of respect, I think this is what is fueling a lot of the violence we're seeing here in this country today. Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Good work, young folks.
Appreciate it a whole lot. Thank you so much, caller. We do have another caller. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning. You're welcome, and you're live.
Hey, GT, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Officer, I think they're doing a very good job. I listened to them, and there is a lot I've been learning. But something I would like them to explain like towards the protocol towards when someone visit the police station. For example, I signed the news where a gentleman from Sotes walked into the Sotes police station and took a gun, and then, I mean, that is really concerning, you know what I mean? So I like them to like explain like when someone come to the station, like maybe the distance they have to stay away or what's the protocol there. And also, I would like you, GT, and maybe they could take it back to the bureau and to have somebody from training, because most time we hear about all the different things, but we don't know how the officer has been trained. So I think having somebody to answer this question, like how officer has been trained, for example, like dealing with mental case, you know, people who is in the mental situation, how you comfort them, how you will arrest them and stuff like that. So I like them to take it back to the station, maybe, and speak to the commissioner, whoever, and have somebody from training, how the police been trained. Because it's very important how the police dealing with the citizen, but you also have to know how they train to deal with the citizen itself, as I know in New York City. Thank you, GT. Have a
Thank
great
you so
day.
much.
Police
Have a good morning.
Good job.
All right. Folks, any response to the caller in terms of the question he asked as relates to, I know it's not really the conversation we're having this morning, but if you can still want to respond to it.
Yes, I might just say that, you know, anyone visiting the station should remain beyond the counter and await assistance from the police officer. You're not expected to just walk into the charge room area and you know, interfere with anything, but we understand that also that we expect that at least a police officer would always be available or be alert whilst on duty in this area. So we do not expect that anyone would enter the station and there would be the absence of a police officer in that area to assist. But we urge citizens to remain beyond the counter area, remain beyond that area, and await, you know, a police officer, you know, to first, you know, give you directions and guidelines as to, you know, based on the nature of what you go to the station for. Okay. I must say that, yes, with Mr. Bonner, the caller before, he speak a lot about respect and about, you know, the aggravation, you know, and yes, that is something that the court system do consider as well, you know, aggravating circumstances. Mm-hmm. And you know, we know that a lot of persons don't like anybody tell them anything about their mother, and it's something that, you know, we see become, you know, as we say, the norm, that, you know, youths go about using obscene without any boundary or without any consideration for who's in the environment. And again, GT, I would blame our communities, you know, I would blame us all, because most of the time is we fail to take action, sometimes even in the playing field or in the pasture. You might see a young fella come out to play football and just, you know, cussing and nobody says anything, so it becomes normal. But we have to all play our part, and if we remain silent, as I said before, then it would become, you know, just the normal thing to do, and very soon we wouldn't hear anybody complaining about those issues.
It seems to become a way of life, and it's already gotten to that particular point or level, I should say, already. Caller, good morning, you're live.
Good morning, JT, and good morning to your officers. Now, our schools, right, are under siege. Our young kids are going for the first time. Form 2 is with extortion on them. Form 3 is with extortion on Form 2, and so on and so on and so on. Kids have to pass up money every day to the elder boys in the school, and it seems like nobody cares. Parents out there, I want you to question your children, because they are being bullied, and children are taking their money from them in school every day. So you be aware of that. Now, since that you're talking about crime solving, the police should have a division that could deal with that. Because the kind of what children go to school to learn in a peaceful place, and they've been harassed, they've been beaten by the bigger boys every day. Just imagine you're going to your work, JT, and somebody meeting you and take your money from your pocket every day and slap you up. And you can't tell them what, nobody cares. The police should have a division to deal with that in schools throughout the country, because it's happening throughout the country. Yes? Going to the serious crimes. Serious crimes. Now, the police force is creating their own problem. Because you have senior officers who have 20-odd years in crime fighting, solving all the big cases in this country here. And you put them in a position where they can work because of, I guess, politics. Just imagine. You have an individual on the port who have years of fighting crime, solve most of the big cases in this country here. Major cases of murder and other things that are sitting on the port. And there are a team of CID officers throughout the country who have years of experience in having a position where they can operate. You need these guys to give the knowledge and the expertise to the younger guys that is coming in so we can fight crime and keep fighting crime in this country here for the years to come. You cannot put people in a position where they can act, they can react, because they like fighting crime. A man loves fighting crime, you have to put him where crime is. That's what he loves to do. Not sit down and can't walk. So we need to put our ducks in a row and start putting square pegs in a round hole and expect the police force to be a crime fighting force, because it can happen. If you don't have people in the right positions, criminals are going to take advantage of that and do what they want. It's as simple as that. So if you need to have this country move forward by fighting crime, we need to have people in the right position, in the right places. Have a nice day, brother.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. We may entertain our final caller for the morning, and then we get some closing contributions from you both. Caller via WhatsApp, good morning, you're welcome, and I beg of you to be brief, please.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, caller. Go right ahead, please.
Yeah, good morning. I was in Grenada for Carnival, right? And what I'm saying, I have a lot of family members who is in the police force. And to me, I just find the Grenada police force need to step up on, it's not bullying people, you know, but step up in the mission of law and order. I find they too lay back and they too relaxed. I went to get a license in Central and South Police Station. And a guy come inside the police station, he just making noise. And nobody's addressing that. He just, where you could ever go to police and you alone, it's a 5 people stand up there. You alone coming like a bad man making noise. These things and them aggravate me bad. And you have officers there. He must have officers in a police station that could handle the situation. That could handle that. They have to put you down. I say they have to kill you, but you have to have a level of respect. And I get in a real problem. I don't know.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. The previous caller, any response to the previous caller that we had before the last?
I just want to say that in relation to the issue of bullying in schools, yes, there are departments that are there to deal with it. We don't have a police station in schools, but we have security, we have teachers and so on. So if something happened in schools, then it must be brought to the attention of the police or the police to respond to. I must say that we visit schools quite often, and we always ask of the principal, you know, what are the concerns, the queries, anything that you would like to report to us, and so. So I'm sure that if it's a situation that is, you know, been brought to the attention of the principal or so, then the police would be informed and it would be dealt with according to what the law has in place, or the Ministry of Education accordingly.
Okay. And so, and also to the nature of the issue itself also.
Exactly.
Anything from you, of course, VP Roberts, in closing before we take a wrap this morning?
Yes, Shiti. So I want to remind persons, when it comes to violence or combating violence, the police cannot do it alone. We need everybody on board, all stakeholders, the community, everybody, in order to do that. So whether you have to report it or you have to do something to stop it from happening, let's all play our part so that we can make Grenada a safer place as it used to be.
All right. Okay. Sergeant Noel, anything in closing?
Yeah, again, GT, I want to remind our nation that the month of October is a big month. It's the month of the elderly, it's the child month as well. And I want us to look out for our citizens. I want us to remember that we shouldn't abuse anyone, you know, whether it might be a child, an older person, or even your companion or your friends. And violence is something, you know, that grows deep. And we must remember that there are consequences for our action. It should be the biggest deterrent, because you should know that if you commit any act of violence, then there's consequences for your action. And one of the grave consequences can be that you can end up in prison, or even if you go, you know, as a perpetrator going to commit violence, you can end up dead as well. You know, GT, we want to, you know, remind our nation that it takes a holistic approach. We want to urge, corporate Grenada, we want to urge, all the private entities to come on board with us in this campaign against violence and to help keep Grenada safe. Yes, we have a rise in violence, but Grenada is still a peaceful place, and we want to bring that level of violence, at a first time low, the lowest ever that we would have. So it takes all of us to do that, and at the end of the day, that would be our biggest accomplishment as Grenadians.
All right, thank you so much. Of course, Sergeant Noel and of course WPC Roberts, I want to thank you both for being on the program this morning and sharing information, and I certainly hope that our listeners and viewers out there may become a little more knowledgeable when it comes to violence and do what is right in terms of individuals who may want to get themselves involved will think twice and of course with the consequences that can derive from it, and just make a whole lot of difference for our beautiful child. So thank you once again, and to our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for being part of To The Point for today, the Thursday the 10th of October. Have yourself a good one. Certainly I will not be with you tomorrow, but I'll be back with you on Monday. Have a good one, folks, and that's how we say goodbye for this edition of To The Point.